The manga for Hell's Paradise finally finished this week on chapter 127 after over 2 years of serialization. But for any fans who were saddened by this news, we were picked up by the fact that an anime adaptation has been announced for it, which is insanely exciting. Hell's Paradise is the last of the Dark Trio in Shounen Jump, alongside Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man, to have an anime adaptation announced, and for me this is just as exciting, if not more, than these other two. Today I'm going to briefly get into what Hell's Paradise is even about, since it is certainly the least well-known and most underrated of these three, what's amazing about it, and of course, why you should be hype. Spoiler-free, as always. Hell's Paradise follows Gabimaru the Hollow, the most renowned shinobi of the Iwagakure village, which is basically an easier way to say that he is Japan's most lethal, bloodthirsty assassin. One that is feared and known by everyone, but has been captured by the shogunate after being betrayed by the rest of his village. And here it's actually revealed that Gabimaru has long moved past the reputation that many hold to his name. He's tired of killing and fighting. And as the shogunate try and execute him over and over, he manages to escape each time despite being bound up and seemingly willing to accept execution. But we realize after a chapter or so that he doesn't truly want to die here. He wants to return to his wife. She's the reason he's softened up from all this time and is tired of killing. And so this is Gabimaru's one goal from the start: to return to her. And thus the shogunate offers him a chance to do that. The shogun is dispatching a number of the strongest and most dangerous criminals on death row to an island south of Japan in search of the elixir of life, the key to immortality. The one who finds it will be pardoned and may continue with the rest of their life free from their crimes, which is perfect for Gabimaru, I guess. And because this island, shrouded in mystery, is known as an island of paradise, and of course the shogunate don't trust a bunch of criminals, the shogun is sending each convict with a renowned executioner as their partner, in case the criminal acts out in any way, tries to escape, pull a fast one of the famous beheaders of the Yasaimon clan can kill them without hesitating. But as we get to this paradise, we quickly realize that things are not the way they were made out to be, and that this island may be far more dangerous than they initially thought. And that is my dramatic reenactment of the synopsis. I mean, at surface level, it's a really complex and cool battle royale. A bunch of people sent to an island to search for the single elixir of life that only one of them can get. But you get a couple chapters deep, and it's actually got this incredibly dynamic relationship between the two sides who've been sent to the island, the executioners and the criminals. On one hand, of course, the executioners have an obligation to kill the criminals should they do anything out of the ordinary. But on the other, as things get more dangerous very, very quickly, you realize that the executioners can't afford to be beheading the criminals, who might be the only people who can help them escape. And through this, we see these very strange and unique bonds being forged between enemies, who can either grow to love each other or just be fighting together out of the obligation to survive. Not every executioner cares about beheading criminals. Some only do it because it's their job. Some believe that the criminal doesn't deserve the punishment they've been given. And of course, there's the hardasses, who really don't trust criminals of any sort, but have to keep going on this kind of enemy of my enemy is my friend type of story. And because of this story dynamic, what we get is a group of characters who are all super different from each other. None of them came to this island with the same goal in mind, with the same backstory, but they all try and leave with the same purpose: survival. And that is one of the key themes of Hell Paradise. It's the questioning of the meaning of life. That at the end of the day, preserving yourself and your life should probably come before all else. That after all, if you're dead, you can't really do anything. Or that perhaps once you meet people like you who are strong-willed, good people, maybe they are something worth dying for. When you're presented with an unbeatable, unbreaking threat in front of you, what is the first thing you do? What will you choose to act on in what may be your last moments? That's the beauty of Hell's Paradise, and that is what it seeks to explore. And so the story itself, though I called it a battle royale of sorts earlier, is much more complicated than that. It becomes this very convoluted and interesting mystery that continues to get unraveled throughout. And because we have all these different characters, we have different pieces of the puzzle being solved by various pairs and groups of executioners and criminals, who cross paths at different points. It's a super cool and unique way of storytelling, the likes of which we see in shows like Bakano and the Fate series, if you've watched any of those. It doesn't really jump through time or anything complex like that, but it does have a bunch of moving parts that definitely keep the plot constantly moving and interesting. The main character, Gabimaru, and his executioner escort also have this really great partnership between them, as they both try and understand their purpose for existing, really. Gabimaru is hard set in his goal and has really no hesitation. After all, a life of being the world's greatest shinobi should probably lead to that. And the Asaemon beheader, on the other hand, is basically the opposite. As a woman in a field dominated by men, she is already discriminated against as a beheader, and finds little meaning or purpose in what she's doing besides to prove a point. And so these characters get closer, and we see them open up not just to each other, but to themselves. And the same can be said of all the characters in this story, frankly, since it isn't really a huge cast. They all come to realizations about themselves and their purpose for being here and what they want to do with their life. And this is what makes the story and characters great. The manga is totally addicting. I started it and caught up in about 2 days, and it was a crazy ride. I actually caught up 2 weeks ago, so 2 chapters before the end. And for anyone who wants to read it all as well, you can do it all in one go, and so I do highly recommend it. Between Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man, I'd probably put Hell's Paradise right in the middle, when looking at both how dark the manga is and how well it fits the broader umbrella term shonen. Hell's Paradise is very much a manga that is ready to kill off its characters. It keeps you on edge throughout, and you always have to be prepared to see one of the characters, maybe even your favorite, to die. As I mentioned before, this is a big part of the central theme it aims to prove. But in terms of the pretty straightforward plot, character motives, enemies, battles, power-ups, it's very much still a shonen manga. And that is certainly exciting. Not because shonen manga and anime are the best, of course, but because they do appeal to the biggest audience. And thus, my hopes as a reader and big fan of this manga already that it'll become a successful adaptation and gather even more fans are certainly high. As I said in my Chainsaw Man video, having the Shounen Jump stamp on it should give Hell's Paradise a nice boost in anticipation whenever the anime finally comes out. Not that it really needs a head start really, it's a great manga on its own. And so this shift in what is being turned into an anime from shonen is really exciting to me. The fact that we got Jujutsu Kaisen recently, which is still airing of course, Chainsaw Man was announced, and now this, it's bringing a level of maturity to mainstream anime that I'm really excited to see. Maybe because as I'm getting older, these are very interesting to me. Or maybe just because it's fresh. It's something new to bring to the shonen genre, which is, of course, aimed towards younger audiences. And of course, when I'm saying this, I don't think that the show is super dark or super intense, too much so for younger audiences, not at all. But I do think it's maturing, and that's something that I look forward to. If you're a manga reader, I highly recommend it. It's a great read and super interesting. For any anime watchers, it's certainly something to look forward to and to anticipate. It should definitely be on your radar and your plan to watch list for the next year or two, whenever its final airing date gets announced. Which I am hoping is soon. As always, this has been the Anime Culture Corner. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for future in-depth show, manga, and character analyses.